People around the world want to try to copy and admire and follow our U.S. Constitution. And it's being trampled on right now. This is a disgrace that we have to hold this news conference. It's a disgrace that you had to run your ads in the Chicago newspaper. It's a disgrace that I ran ads in the Washington Times. I did it again this week, the Washington Times and Human Events. It's a disgrace in December, after an election, we're still questioning. And the problem is, and I'm glad the media is here, and I hope this gets out, I wish I could sue, and I don't know if you're here, if you are, I don't care. I wish I could sue ABC and NBC and CBS and MSNBC and Fox, and even Fox, because, and New York Times and Washington Post, because you guys, if you're here, if not, you're all a disgrace for not covering this story, at least since August of this year when I filed the suit. But it should have occurred before that. You guys have been traveling with him for 2 years, and he's the most unvetted person. People have decided he shall be president. Well, allow him to be president if he meets the qualifications. But I can't believe that no one, the national press travels with him every day. You guys have access. Someone could stand up and say, where's your birth certificate? What's your status from Indonesia? I think it's a disgrace. And if you are there, take it back to your media, and I'll talk to anyone about it. I've been on radio show after radio show. I'll go wherever, and the words I'm saying here today are for publication. This is the biggest disgrace in our country's history, and Obama is the big disgrace. If he can't show he's qualified, what he should do right now is this. He should say, I, as an African American, received more votes than anyone else on November 4th, 2008 for the office of President of the United States. But because of things in my background, I cannot serve, and he should step down now to avoid a crisis. One last thing, and I know I've talked for a while. People are saying, Phil, to me, Phil, do you know what you're doing? Do you know that if you continue on this and Obama ends up not being president, that there's going to be race riots, and property is going to be damaged, and people are going to be injured, and people are going to be killed? And my response was, I'll give you two responses. One, I said, okay, then do you want me to go down to the Liberty Bell and take a copy of the Constitution and a copy of the Declaration of Independence and rip it up right across from Independence Hall and down the street from Constitutional Hall? Is that what you want me to do? Or do you want us to stand up and fight for why people have fought and died for this for the past 200 years? And ladies and gentlemen, not one piece of property should be lost, not one injury should occur, not one death, because this all goes back to one individual, Barack Obama. He knows what he is and what he's done, and he should get up there and say what I just said. He should step down, and he should ask for peace and tranquility. What we are trying to do, the people I'm working with, we want a peaceful revolution to enforce the U.S. Constitution. Thank you.
That's all right. Leo D'Onofrio, has he arrived? Don't know where Leo is, but let me say this about Leo D'Onofrio. He's an attorney from New Jersey, and he sued the Secretary of State of New Jersey, asking basically to delay or stay the electoral process until this underlying question that only a court of law can settle. And that is the what is the meaning of the phrase natural-born citizen? And I read his brief. It was brilliant. I encourage you all to take some time to read the brief to the Supreme Court by Leo D'Onofrio. But the court today, someone handed me the list of the orders sent down by the Supreme Court. And here's all it says. D'Onofrio versus Wells, the New Jersey Secretary of State. The application for a stay addressed to Justice Thomas and referred to the court is denied. Well, we all know that when the Supreme Court denies one of these applications, they don't do so. There's no indication from them about the merits of the case. It's just something they don't want to handle. That's well understood. Mr. D'Onofrio took an interesting approach in his lawsuit, one that interested me greatly. He went back and studied history, and he looked at to determine the meaning of the words natural-born citizen. And so he took what's known as the original intent approach. If we have any doubt about the plain language meaning of words we find in the Constitution, then what we ought to do is take a look at the world before those words were added, what people were saying at the time that they added the words, and then the way the world was after those words were added. It's called the founder's intent approach. The meaning of the words as those words and the meaning that they had when they were added to the Constitution. And it is his argument, his legal argument, that Mr. Obama is not a natural-born citizen, that he was a British subject at birth. His paternal father was a Kenyan citizen. Kenya at the time was under British rule. And his argument is that he was a British subject at birth, regardless of where he was born, due to the citizenship of his father. And since he was born a British subject or a British citizen at birth, his U.S. citizenship, if any, is not natural. But it's a strong legal argument that only a court of law can determine. It's a legal argument. And the Supreme Court, if they have any function at all, it's to interpret the Constitution. And they've ducked that responsibility here. It's inexcusable. So I'm sorry he's not here to speak for himself. The certificate, the birth certificate issue that Phil Berg talked about, at first it might appear to be a sort of a complicated issue. It's difficult to work your way through. So what we've decided to do was provide you with a copy of what Mr. Obama placed on. After a year, these issues were circulating for about a year, and then last June he posted on his website, fightthesmears.com, this document which you have out there. It's called a certification. It's been reviewed by forensic scientists, and they have, as Mr. Berg has said, they've determined it's a fake, it's a forgery, regardless of its authenticity. There is also something that we all have in America, in vaults in the states where we were born, something called a certificate of live birth. This is a certificate from someone born in Hawaii 2 years after Mr. Obama's birth, obtained from the vault on request. It's a copy of the original. And on here is a lot of vital information that helps one determine where one was born. Signatures of the attending physician. There are 3 signatures required on here. Not required. None of them are required on the certification. But on the certificate, they're required, as is the name of the hospital, as is the age and maiden name of the mother, the age of the father, and so forth. A lot of vital information that helps one determine where one was born. That is not required on a certification, a mere certification. So we published the full-page ads in the Chicago Tribune last Monday and Wednesday. Respectfully drawn, we think. We summarize these facts, and we also summarize the seriousness of the adverse consequences that can befall the nation if we have a usurper, an imposter, a posier, holding down the office of president. And we asked Mr. Obama, in light of the facts, to please authorize the officials in Hawaii to provide access to his original vault copy, something that can't leave the state, can't really go very far from the vault. But we said we'll send experts to Hawaii please just provide access. You say you were born in Hawaii. Just please provide access to settle the one question of where you were born. And to make that access, provide that access last Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And we had a team of experts ready to go to Hawaii to examine the document. Mr. Obama did not respond. We also asked Mr. Obama to please make arrangements to deliver here today by 10 o'clock this morning some of these other documents, a few named specific documents, passport information and so forth, to help settle this issue. He hasn't responded. He hasn't responded to repeated requests, petitions for redress, for a remedy of this alleged grievance, constitutional violation, a constitutional